Hello, my name is Stylie Hayward. I would like to welcome you to the Blessed Hope Ministry. We are a King James grounded family Bible study. These lessons are not to be a substitute for regular church attendance. Nightly, I direct my family through the Bible by chapter and verse. We request you to join us and to study from God and His Son, Jesus Christ. You may have permission to like, send, or encourage our studies with family or friends. Edification of what God has and what He desires in our life. Study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. You may use our studies, but I request that you do not abuse them. For YouTube videos, subscribe below for more videos, and place the thumbs up, and leave a comment or email me. Thank you. Genesis chapter 12. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country. And we know that was the Ur of Chaldees. That was the moon god city. And from thy kindred. And it looks like his father followed, along with his uncles. And from thy father's house, Terah, unto a land that I will show thee. Hebrews 11:8. When God told Abram to go, He said, there's a land. And He didn't tell God, God did not tell him where it was. He didn't describe it. He says, go. I will make thee a great nation. And in chapter 11, verse 30, but Sarah was barren. She's unable to have children. And we know the causes of her because Abram will go with Hagar and produce a child. I will make of thee a great nation. A great nation. There is no thought of Ishmael or any of the children of Keturah. God has in mind one son, Isaac. And I will bless thee, make thee happy, and make thy name great. And it is. Abraham's a great name, and Abraham is mostly known throughout the world. And thou shalt be a blessing. Make people happy. So, he has no children, and yet God's going to make him a nation. And there are 5 promises. I will make thee a great nation. I will bless thee. Make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. Conditional on verse 1. And I will bless them that bless thee. And you do not find verse 3 to any nation but one nation. Anybody that helps Abraham and his kindred, his Isaac and Jacob, the 12 tribes, God will bless them and take care of them. And curse him that curses thee. Your conduct to the nation of Israel, to the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, will warrant of how God will treat you. Mistreat the Jew, and you'll be mistreated by God. Help them, pray for them, guide them, and God will extend a favor to you. And make thy name great. And thou shalt be a blessing. I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee, Abram, shall all families of the earth be blessed. And that is 12:3, a prophecy of Jesus Christ. Because Jesus Christ will be of Abraham. And who's the greatest blessing and blessener but Jesus Christ? Matthew 28:18-20, Galatians 3:14, and Romans 4:9 and 16. So Abram departed, as the Lord spoken unto him. He obeys. And Lot went with him. Trouble. Verse 1. From thy kindred and from thy father's house. Lot is his nephew or cousin. Nephew. I really don't know the family thing. He is the child of his father's brother. And God told him, leave your family. You're just to take Sarah or Sarai and you and go. That's it. But Lot went with him. That's a great sin right there. And we'll see later with this chapter and the next chapter. It causes a broken fellowship between Abram and God. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. 75-year-old man. I'm going to make a family of you. Well, by Genesis 5 and Genesis chapter 11, we see, and just a reference here, 11:26. And Terah lived 70 years to beget Abram, Nahor, and Haran. We're going to see 25 more years before this child comes. Abram will be into the 100.
I was looking in verse 5. Lot is his brother's son.
So Abraham took Sarai, his wife, and Lot, his brother's son. But when we come over here to chapter 11, verse 27, now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran begat Lot. So Haran is Abram's brother. And Haran, Abraham's brother, has Lot, nephew. And brother's son, I mean, they're all one kindred. They're family. And you run back to 12:1, from thy kindred, from thy father's house. Well, the father's house is, here's your brother, your brother's son. He was not supposed to go. Abram took Sarai, his wife. Should have been a period. And Lot, his brother's son. Abram took Sarah and took Lot. Abram said, come on, Lot, let's go. It's on Abram's behalf that Lot went with him. And all their substance, cattle, sheep, tents, that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten Haran. That would be servants, people to work the animals. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan. And into the land of Canaan they came. So they leave and they go where God told them to go. And Abram passed through the land unto a place of Shechem, unto the plain of Morah. And a Canaanite was then in the land. Let's see, here they are. The children of Ham are in the land that God has promised or going to promise to Abram. And right now they're doing okay, but we read later on in the Bible that the reason why God wanted Israel to expel these people because their sins had filled the cup. And a nation, any nation, there's a cup. And the sins start filling that cup. And when it gets to over the brim and overfilling, as Sodom and Gomorrah, then God's judgment comes. And Abram passed through the land into the place of Shechem and the plain of Morah, and the Canaanite was then in the land. And the Lord appeared unto Abram and said, unto thy seed, his wife is barren, he has no children. will I, God, give this land. Nowhere in the Bible does God ever give a piece of land to anybody but Abram. The land is the land of Canaan. Go online and look up the land of Canaan, and you will see the present day land of Israel, Palestine. That land belongs to Abram, and it's marked out in the book of Joshua. It was fully adapted in the King David's reign. And there builded he an altar, like Noah, unto the Lord, who appeared unto him. So when a man gets right in his heart from Genesis chapter 4, I forget which chapter Noah stepped out of the ark, and the man that God has called out and said, listen, I want you to walk with me in a pilgrimage. There is a thing that is an altar is to be built. Now remember, Abram comes from a religious city of the moon worship. And there were false altars there. There was everything to worship Satan. Abraham has stepped out of the Ur of Chaldees. He has stepped away from his family minus Lot. He has built an altar onto the capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D. And no one else. Who appeared unto him. That's a big step. Here is a man that is converted and right by God and serving one God. And he removed from thence unto a mountain on the east of Bethel. He said, well, there's no Bethel here. By the time Moses is given the instructions to write Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, God tells Moses, I have to think about his name there for a minute. God told him, say, listen, put this spot Bethel. And even Moses' time, there is no Bethel. That doesn't come in the time of Joshua, the book of Joshua, and on to that. The house of God. All God did was, from what we don't know, is God filled in the blanks as prophecy. That this city will be there one time. You just put it there as Bethel. How do they know? God knows everything. God knows the future. So it's the Holy Spirit that put these cities' names in before they became the cities. You want to try your psychics doing something, writing a book before it happens and giving you the name, just the name of the place, and pitch his tent. He's a tent dweller, having Bethel on the west and Hai on the east. So he's between Bethel and Hai. And there he builded an altar, again, here's another altar, unto the Lord, and called upon the name of the Lord. In Abram's journey, there's no answer. Two things wrong. Number one, why is he moving when God was approved of where he was? Number two, we're going to see eventually it's because of Lot. With this chapter and the next chapter. But right now, God's not answering. He answered with the first altar. He's not answering by the second altar. And Abraham's journey going on still toward the south. Abraham is doing what Ham and his descendants should do. Pass through the land, keep heading south. And there was a famine in the land. And when you find a famine in the land, like you find in the book of Ruth and other places in the Bible, it's usually God trying to get your attention of judgment. I'm going to do something with food and water so that you will get closer to me, because God and not the weathermen are in charge of the weather and crops. When a famine happens, it is the work of God. It is also the work of Satan. You say, what about all those people in India and how crucial that the people are, that we got to put them on television, that they're dying every day of malnutrition, they can't get food. And they make sure that in the camera shot of that child with all the flies on them, they don't show you the cows that are walking around. And the reason why they are famished in the condition that they are, because their religion takes animals are sacred and you don't kill them for food and you just die. You let your children die for your gods, whereas you could kill that cow and make a hamburger out of it and feed the children. So when they do those sets and show you for the commercial, they're not there in the land because those animals are all around. When a cow in India pees, they go and into the stream of the urine because that is sacred. While their children are dying. They have a festival with an elephant god. And this elephant god is on roller wheels. They're cylinders. And as they roll this god down the street, there are mothers throwing their infant children into the path of these rolling wheels to kill them. Famines are caused by God trying to get your attention. And in some cases, it's because you are worshiping the wrong God. When you see a famine in the Bible, look around. Somebody is doing wrong. And there's one famine the Bible speaks about that is yet to come. And it's not food and water. It's the famine of the Word of God. And boy, are you in trouble. And the only thing I could see in the future that would be the famine of the Word of God that gets you in trouble would have to be the tribulation period. There's a famine in the land, and Abram went down into Egypt. Here is the first time the children of Israel go down into Egypt to get help. It is the founder of the Jews, Abram. And God tells him after time, after time, after time, do not go down to Egypt. Will you trust me? If you set up a king, if you say, well, we want kings like the nation, that king is not to multiply horses, chariots, and there was something else of Egypt. No, not wives. That's one of them. There was horses, chariots, I think gold, maybe, I forget. God says, don't go down to Egypt. And you know, they anger so much, God said, okay, fine. You want to go down to Egypt? Oh, fine. I am going to set taskmasters that are going to serve. You're going to serve them with rigor. And that still doesn't change their mind when they're in the wilderness and they're not getting food and all that because God is judging. Oh, let's make a team of people. Let's go back to Egypt. Oh, we forgot the melons and the onions and the leeks that were. Did you forget about your children being killed? Did you forget about the hard bondage? Egypt now we see here is the first place it shows up. It is somewhere that God does want us to go. It is a type of the world. It is called an iron furnace. And iron is bad in the Bible. God calls his people out of Egypt. He does not want you to go back into it. Now, Abram's going to make some few trips into Egypt and he's going to get in trouble. He's going to get in trouble right now. To sojourn there. Now, sojourn means it's a temporary dwelling. It's not like a hotel or motel. You're going to get yourself a apartment or a condominium that you're only going to stay there for a while. You're not going to buy it. You're going to rent it, but it's a little bit long term. For the famine was grievous in the land. Well, it's not the land of Egypt because he runs down there to get help. It has to be in the land that God wanted him to be in. Ever since he built that altar and God says, this is your land, he's been moving south. And God is trying to put a red light or a stop sign saying, this is not it. See the free will of a man of God, Abram, called by God. And God, he wants to go down, he wants to suffer, then try and tell him not. And it came to pass, when he was come near to enter in Egypt, he's not there yet. He said unto Sarai his wife, Behold now, I know that thou art a fair woman to look upon. I think she's 60, 65 years old. I forget we'll learn later what the age difference. He's 100, I think she's 90. So she's about 65 years old, ready for retirement benefits from the Social Security system of America. And he said, man, you're beautiful. Yeah, I'm just saying, 65, and he said, man, you're beautiful. So you see what the years, they're not quite our years. And still, maybe just as an old woman as she is, maybe she's still beautiful. Maybe he's complimenting her. You're a fair woman to look upon. Therefore it shall come to pass, when the Egyptians shall see thee, that they shall say, This is his wife. And they will kill me, but they shall save thee alive. Now, already, he's heading down to Egypt. He's heard about the Egyptians. He's like, they steal wives from husbands. And they kill the husband for the wife. Why don't you turn around and go back to where God was meeting you? Because you're about to make a very stupid mistake here. And what now is going to play out, remember I told you, watch the women who are going to have babies that are going to lead to Jesus Christ. Watch Satan attack. She's barren. Now Satan is whispering into Abram's ear with fear, they're going to kill you, Abram, and they're going to take your wife. Say, I pray thee, thou art my sister. And we're going to learn later on, well, that's not a lie. It's a half lie, kind of lie, polka dotted lie, because they are brother and sister. But just leave off the wife part. That it may be well with me. You don't want Abraham as your husband. He does not think about you. He thinks about himself. If the Egyptians were that bad and the situation was as bad as he thinks it was, he should just went U-turn and head back and get back to where God was talking to him. He's got a clan of people. It said he got people from, what's the place he was at? Canaan. But he's worried about himself, and the Bible says that Paul writes to the church that says a man is to love his wife as Christ loved the church and gave his life. A man is to sacrifice his life for his wife, if it comes down to it. So Abram's thinking of himself, for thy sake. Wait a minute. This is, I pray thee that thou shalt say, thou art my sister, if, excuse me, it may be well with me for thy sake. Oh yeah, and for you too, Sarai. Did you get to keep me? And my soul shall live because of thee in your lie. But it's not a lie, it's the truth. But remember when it came to Terah recognizing his own daughter, he recognized her as my sister, my daughter-in-law. Marriage is more honorable than the wife and the father. Yeah, daughter and father. I'm getting messed up with the family relationships. Abram should never put himself or put his wife in this situation. Satan's working now. And it came to pass that when Abram was come into Egypt, he wasn't in Egypt yet. Now he enters Egypt. The Egyptians beheld the woman that she was very fair. So she is beautiful, according to other people, not just her husband. She's a looker, and she's got the eyes of the Egyptians, as Abraham said. So Abraham is not lying when he's talking about the Egyptians will kill me for this woman. The princess, also of Pharaoh, saw her. This is the first time Pharaoh shows up in the Bible. And he's got princes. Later on in the book of Exodus, he changed them in for magicians. Check that one out. The princess also of Pharaoh saw her and commended her before Pharaoh. Hey, see, check out this beautiful woman. Here you go, Pharaoh. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. The same situation as Moses was brought into Pharaoh's house. Abram has just lost his wife. But he gets to live. And he, Pharaoh, entreated, that's begged to solicit Abram well for her sake. He had sheep and oxen and he-asses and men-servants and maid-servants and she-asses and camels. He made his wife merchandise, an ability to make him get rich. Just tell him you're my sister. Woohoo, I'm making buku bucks with it. And the Lord, capital L, capital O, capital R, capital. What's he think about this? Plagued Pharaoh and his house. So the first time we hear about Egypt, the first time we hear about Pharaoh, God, with Egypt the way they are treating Israel, God is plaguing them still. So the question is, what is the first plague that God put upon Egypt? We don't know, because here it is in chapter 12, verse 17. And this is supposed to be for the Egyptians to say, listen, when they come back in here, you take their butt and you kick them out. Don't allow them here. I'm trying not to bring them here. With great plagues, wherever they are, they're great plagues. Because of Sarai, now let's get this, let's get what God says. Abram's wife. You know what God just said? Abram, you're a liar. You are a liar. She's no longer your sister. She is your wife. And because of what you just did, I'm going to plague the people that are involved in this. It is your fault. God is trying to get Egypt and the children of Abram mad at each other that they won't get together anymore. This nonsense will stop. It doesn't. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, what is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst not tell me that she was thy sister? Wife, excuse me. Why is she is thy wife? I don't know if it was a revelation by God or those plagues, whatever it was. Pharaoh got the idea in his head, that's your wife, that's not your sister. Or Sarah told him. Now the Egyptians had a lot of laws and regulations. Maybe the plagues that God brought upon them resulted in the fact is you're taking another man's wife. When the plagues come upon Egypt in the book of Exodus, that's plagues upon those gods of Egypt that, hey, listen, those are my people and I am the only God. Why sayest thou, she is my sister? Now Pharaoh, he's quoting Abram. You want to get somebody with their sins, you quote the Bible. And there's no Bible here. But I can take you right back to where it says, verse number 12. You tell them you're my sister. So Pharaoh's quoting what he told Sarai to say. She is my sister. So I might have taken her to me to wife, which he didn't. But I could have. I could take her to be my wife thinking that you were brothers and sisters. You lied to me. Watch what he does. Now therefore, behold thy wife. This is your wife. Here you go, buddy. Take her and go thy way. Get out of here. This pictures the last plague of Pharaoh with the firstborn dying. You guys get out of here and take whatever you need. Go. So when the book of Exodus and the departing out of Egypt should remind us of Abram and Sarah in Egypt. Get out of here, you liar. So he does. He says, therefore, behold thy wife, you liar. Take her and go thy way. Get out of here, you liar. That's what he's telling them. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, Abram, that they sent him away. They picked him up or drug him off or whatever how they did, but they took Abram and said, you're going. And you know what? We'll pack for you. And not only that, we'll drive you out. It's almost like Adam and Eve when God driven them out of the garden. Him away and his wife. And this is funny in all that he had. Even what Pharaoh gave him for Sarai, just get out of here. I'm gonna give it to you. I don't want no law. I don't want no troubles. I just want you out of here. And here's your wife. Notice I kept on saying, your wife, your wife, your wife. Get going. Because that's very important because we're going to run into this again with Abram. And we're going to run into this with Isaac later. And it's so funny because when Abraham does it, there's no Isaac here. There's no Isaac when Abram does it again. And yet somehow Isaac got the idea, honey, you just tell them we're brothers and sisters. And that is a complete outright lie. This is a half-truth. But God, honors that marriage more than he does brother and sister, or father and daughter. That marriage is sacred to God. And I don't know what woman would be married to this guy. Puts her up on to being, puts her into the arms of another man here. So I may live.